Alan, start with then availability news. Any injuries in or out? Anyone released from the Welsh squad this week?
We're not expecting anyone to be released. Sure it's the same for both teams. And we do have one or two niggles, so we're still assessing as we speak.
Any particular positions a concern
I don't know, we've got adequate cover. We've grown that little bit of depth in our squad, and the guys have had some game time, some experience, and done that in some decent performances at times. So throughout the season we haven't made a big thing about it. I'm not going to start now. We'll have 23 on Friday night, and we know we're going to face a really good team, and we know what the responsibility is on ourselves to perform.
What are the lessons from last year then that you referred to as a bit of a dark day when they came down to Swansea and won easily at the same time of the year?
I think if without really looking back on last year, it's a different group of players, it's a different mindset. We're in a different position. So obviously Glasgow have been the informed team, shown a lot of qualities over the last number of years. And you can see that in terms of how they play with a lot of confidence, but equally we've got confidence. And it's a fantastic end to this block of games, if you like, that first v second in our conference come head to head at the Liberty. And if we can get as many of our people there, our supporters there, roaring us on, the boys perform on the field and fuel that energy, then we can make it a difficult place.
Are you expecting Glasgow with more or less a second string side to play the same sort of style, because they've got a little bit of international backup from other countries in their squad, haven't they?
Yeah, they've got a really good strength and depth. I think if you look at most teams nowadays, they have a style of playing, and you never get too far away from that, because you waste your training week trying to over-adapt for a team that you're going to play against at the weekend. You have some subtle changes, but fundamentally you become good at what you're good at, and Glasgow are very good at what they do. Our job is to ensure that we're better at what we do and see if that can put pressure on them and turn that pressure into points.
Part of the big Welsh-Scottish weekend, of course, with the international and two games between Welsh and Scottish sides on the Friday night. Is it a bit of a shame though that, as you say, a game between two sides at the top of the table is not played at full strength?
I suppose when the fixtures come out, you don't know that. So in terms of positioning within the league, but yeah, teams are trying to put out the best combinations week on week, but also get themselves to a point in the season where they're challenging for honours. We're absolutely honoured to have so many people involved with Wales. We want more players from the Ospreys representing Wales, driving standards from within, setting benchmarks for what it is to be an Osprey. So it's, for me, it is what it is. It's a great saying around these parts. I've adapted it quite nicely to life. But it is what it is, and as such, you deal with what you control, and we control selection for Friday night and up to the start of the game, and then it's over to the players.
It's a pretty important one in the context of the league, isn't it?
That's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. If you'd asked us at the start of the season, would we have taken this as a scenario in round 8 of the PRO14, then we probably would have bitten your arm off. So we've worked hard to get where we are, and we've respected what that's taken, and we're building a certain DNA which we're starting to display on a regular basis, and that with that consistency, hopefully we'll get a performance on Friday night.
Dan Lydiot, obviously, you don't expect him to be released. It's been quite a comeback from him, hasn't it? Because he's had so many injury problems, so he's done well to get back into that Wales reckoning, isn't he?
Yeah, what was really pleasing was that on Friday evening, didn't consider taking him off. There was an 80-minute performance in him, and that's the first that he's had this season. So that will give him, great sense of confidence going into this week with Wales. And whether he's selected or not, he'll be in a good place. I hope he is. He's the sort of player that you don't want to necessarily play against, and I know how much he galvanises a pack because of his energy and the trust that you have when you have a person like him beside you. Equally, I thought our back five as a whole went well on Friday night. Their energy, their effort around their field. You had James King playing in the second row, and he adds an extra dimension there. I thought Ollie Cracknell was outstanding, and that complemented the control of our halfbacks and the execution of our backs as a whole.
Bradley Davis ruled out of Wales by injury. How's he coming along? Are you expecting him back soon or medium term?
He's had an operation, and he'll go through. He's not expected back until the beginning of the new year.
Sorry, what's the operation?
An operation on his knee last Thursday. So just a simple procedure, a procedure that needed doing, and a procedure that will, increase the longevity of his playing career.
Scott Williams, close to coming back down.
He's close, but he's still in a return to play programme. The nature of the individual and the nature of the injury and the position he plays and how he plays the game, it would be a risk to include him this week, but he's not far away.
Your new South African signing, how you can be involved?
Yeah, he's trained with us yesterday and this morning, and we'll have a look at him again this afternoon, but we'll take stock of that based on his training performance, which we've done with other players. He's not exclusive to that process. But my inkling is to reward the boys who really fronted up on Friday night and say, go again.
What will he offer you?
He's obviously got a good degree of experience, but he covers 12-13 wing, which is a fantastic asset to us. With Scott's injury, with other members of our midfield injured, you need that luxury. We don't have a great depth. I think we had 10 senior backs training last week. So if you work that out, you can see why we dipped into our academy, and it's a big plus for the academy programme here, with the performances of Harry and the performances of Tian. It's not enough to be selected to reward an academy. It's the performance of the individuals. It's how they carry themselves as individuals, and them recognising that what it took to get there, and that this is only part of the journey for them where they can get to.
And in terms of last week, the fact that you went to the final whistle and snuck it at the end, was that the most pleasing aspect that, for a young inexperienced side to go the distance?
Yeah, the 80 minutes plus performance. The week before we talked about not competing as we should have, or how we believed we are capable of in the first 40 against Worcester. So we've gone 120 minutes of rugby now where we've been in the fight throughout. And to relinquish a 17-3 lead, I think we showed a great sense of character and maturity. Whilst running, you need a little bit of luck along the way, but it was fantastic to come out with the 5 points.
Tom, I just won. Tom Haberfield, is he?
He's close. He's close. But when you get a bang in the esophagus like he had, we're not going to risk that. That's on the player. And when Tom's ready, we'll consider him. But those discussions are still very real.
So not likely this week.
There's a possibility he may.
How have you found the step up from assistant coach to head coach? I mean, you said, how have you found the whole thing?
How do you think I'm doing?
Doing all right, not bad.
As my mother and father would say the same. I'm doing okay. It's a good way to be where I come from. It's never about one person in this world. Certainly, that's my approach to it. There's tremendous support. I've already mentioned the academy and the S&C department, our medical department, everybody associated with the Ospreys down at Liberty Stadium, the analytical department here, and obviously the coaches. I am a coach. I coach along with other coaches. Part of the role is that maybe you don't say as much. Sometimes it's important to stand up and speak, and other times it's important to, stand up and say nothing. There's a very wise man said that. But for me, you get tremendous support in terms of Bradley Davis, in terms of Matt Sherritt, who's come in and really driven our attack, and along with Duncan Jones now, who's assisting with the scrum and really driving the scrum. Bradley Davis, the lock, who's a player and has been fundamental in terms of our line out. So there's a great cohort of people who are driving the Ospreys, and members of a board who've been there for a long time, with new members coming in. So it's as part of the resetting that we discussed at the beginning of the season, with the difficulties. I'd say thanks to all of those people, but in particular to the players, how they've responded to the change. None of us are indispensable, and there's good people before me in this position who aren't here any longer. So I know that I'm passing through, and it's just about doing the best you can absolutely do for the Ospreys.
You live in locally, and you're Ostragunlas.
Yeah, I said better than you. It's Ostragunlas. Yeah. I'm a valley boy, they tell me that. So.
Do you feel part of the community as well, with supporters?
It's brilliant. I absolutely love the place. There's nothing I like better than, after a win like Friday night, than meeting the locals, saying hello, walking my dogs the next morning around the valleys. It's park the car up and not get back into it until early Monday morning. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a beautiful part of the world, and I said to someone last week, they say people make places, but places also make people. So this place has made me a better person.
Do you, when you're shopping in the supermarket, you get people stopping you, so and so should have been starting, or
It's Wales, isn't it? So you know the answer to that. So everyone's a coach, but I think that's wonderful. That's one of the reasons why I came here. One of the first interviews I ever did was I wanted to come to a country where rugby was in its veins. It's deeper than that, if you like. It's as close to New Zealand as I know. So I actually quite like that. I liked it in the dark days last year. So it's still about giving people time and listening to people. And, what I do sense from this part of the world is that people want to see you do well. They want to see their own players, people from their own valleys, their own streets, their own townlands do well, and that's a great strength. And in doing well, it's not always about winning on the scoreboard. They just want to see guys giving their absolute best, and they recognise that because of, I go back to the DNA of the miner and the steelman. Those aren't easy lifestyles, and that's in people, and that's what I admire about our playing group as much as anything.
You optimistic with the potential, because obviously, you said earlier, but likes of Harry Morgan coming through. I mean, obviously there'll be bumps along the way, but there's some really good young talent, isn't it?
Yeah, and from my experience of working in that world across the water, it's not necessarily about building teams year on year through an academy process. It's building 4 or 5 top end players who are going to come in, who burst into a senior squad, and the senior boys are going, he's got something. That really raise the standards, that challenge for positions, but do it with humility. Do it with confidence, but also with humility. Do it in the right way, and those are the values that we're trying to work to here. That through your actions you speak. And as a result of that, you'll get your rewards in life.
Can I just ask as well, over the next couple of seasons, are you confident that there'll be funding, that you can strengthen the squad with, obviously you want to keep the players, you want to keep bringing in players externally as well? Are you confident that,
Yeah, it's about getting the balance, isn't it? You've got to self-generate. The most successful teams self-generate. You look at Leinster's academy system. It's probably the envy of a lot in Europe. Equally Saracens, and that's taking time. You look at their investment linked to education, their investment in terms of their academy. So you self-generate first and foremost. And rugby union's one example. Southampton's a good example in soccer as well. So through that self development and back in your own, because if you can find guys from this area, from Wales, who are born and bred, that's tremendously powerful when they're playing for their own families, their own townlands, as I said. And you back that up with real quality recruits who are good people, who add a new dimension, a new culture, but buy into the culture that's very much part of being an Osprey.